Obeisances, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. Om Ajnana Timirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Unmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Namam Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine. Namaste Saraswati Devi Gaurvani Pracharine. Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshtarine. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda. Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So we are starting from Canto 1, the creation, Chapter 4, the appearance of Sri Nārada. And we did this chapter text 7 yesterday. I'll just recite the verse and then we'll move on to the next verse, verse number 8. Katham va pandavayasya rajarsher munina saha samvadaha samabhuta tata yatra esha satvati shrutihi. So the question is asked by Sonakrishi to Sutta Goswami. How did it so happen that King Parīkṣit met this great sage, making it possible for this great transcendental essence of the Vedas, Bhāgavatam, to be sung to him? So he says, Samvadaha samabhuta tata. So the Samvada, as we heard yesterday, that there are 4 types of conversations, Vitanda, Prajalpa, Vad, and Samvad. And Samvad is the best because it is about glorification of the Lord, and it benefits both the speaker and the hearer. Whereas the other 3 have got other objectives, Vitanda, Prajalpa, Vad. So they have got other objectives. Let's go to 148. Very wonderful verse describing Śri Śukadeva Gosvāmī. So does anyone want to recite this verse, please? And the word-to-word synonym? Please unmute yourself if you want to recite. Okay, so I'll recite. 148. Sagodohan matram hi griheshu grihimedhinam avekshte mahabhagas tirthi kurvam stadashramam. Synonym. Saha hi Sukadeva Goswami Godohan matram, only for the time of milking the cow. He certainly griheshu, in the house, grihimedhinam, of the householders, avekshate, waits, mahabhagah, the most fortunate, tirthi, pilgrimage, kurvan, transforming, tadashramam, the residence. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Translation. He, Sukadeva Goswami, was accustomed to stay at the door of a householder only long enough for a cow to be milked, and he did this just to sanctify the residence. Purport. Sukadeva Goswami met Emperor Parīkṣit and explained the text of Srīmad Bhāgavatam. He was not accustomed to stay at any householder's residence for more than half an hour at the time of milking the cow. And he would just take alms from the fortunate householder. That was to sanctify the residence by his auspicious presence. Therefore, Shukadeva Goswami is an ideal preacher established in the transcendental position. From his activities, those who are in the renounced order of life and dedicated to the mission of preaching the message of Godhead should learn that they have no business with householders save and except to enlighten them in transcendental knowledge. Such asking for alms from the householder should be for the purpose of sanctifying his home. One who is in the renounced order of life should not be allured by the clamor of the householder's worldly possessions and thus become subservient to worldly men. For one who is in the renounced order of life, this is much more dangerous than drinking poison and committing suicide. So this is the quality of Śukadeva Gosvāmī, and Prabhupada says, and following his footsteps, anyone who's in the renounced order of life. So when devotees come to our house, for some program or for asking for donation, we should actually give profusely, because that is for our own benefit. As we know, if you take one step towards Krishna, he takes 10 steps towards you. The same thing happens when we give something to Krishna, he gives us back. And what can we give with 2 hands? Because when he gives with his 1,000 hands, how much can we receive? So try to understand this. This principle is many points explained here. First of all, when Shaunak Rishi is asking this question to Sudha Goswami, how did this happen? How did they meet Parīkṣit Maharaj and Sukadeva Goswami? Parīkṣit Maharaj is an emperor, and he's a householder. He's, even though a Raj Rishi, but is still an emperor full of so many responsibilities. And the next few questions will come where Shaunak Rishi is asking that Parīkṣit Maharaj himself was almost a perfect devotee. He was actually a perfect devotee. Then why did he have to renounce everything? And how did he meet Sukadeva Goswami? So here is described that Sukadeva Goswami actually is just accustomed to stay at one householder's residence, not for a long time, only till the time which takes to milk the cow. And here it says half an hour, but it can be a little less than half an hour also. And Prabhupada says he would take alms from the fortunate householder. So if we are fortunate, then a devotee will come to our house to beg some charity. And the charity also is not for the devotee for his personal use. No. So Prabhupada clarifies that here also, that those who are in the renounced order of life should, their only business is to save the householder, and give them the transcendental knowledge. There's no other business of a senior devotee or a renunciate visiting a house. So Sukadeva Goswami is going, and his characteristics describe that he's going to stay at some house for only little time. So this is what sannyasis do, that go from householder to householder's place and then give them the transcendental knowledge. The verse says here, Tirthi Kurvam Stad Ashramam. That means the ashram of the householder is converted into a tirtha. And the verse says Grihimedhinam, Grihimedhi. So we know the difference between Grihastha and Grihimedhi. So we have seen the 4 ashrams, Brahmachari, Grihastha, Vanaprastha and Sannyas. And in the Grihastha life, then we have to also understand the difference between Grihastha and the Grihimedhi. Grihastha is an ashram where the center of our life is Krishna. Because the house, we understand it belongs to Krishna, and he is giving us ashraya in that house. It is not that it's our house and we are giving a small place to Krishna for somewhere just to, just hang out. No. It's Krishna's house and he is giving us ashraya. And if we have that consciousness, then we can be called Grihastha Ashram. We can be called to be situated in Grihastha Ashrama. But if not, if our home is just used for sense gratification and for sense pleasures, then we'll be called Grihimedhi. Grihimedhi is a term again used for someone, it's in the olden days, the bull was tied to a long bamboo, and he goes around, and in the middle there's a silo, which is where the grain is grounded. So that bull is going around and around and around, and he thinks I've covered so much distance. So same thing, if we are using our householder life in just going round and round and round in sense pleasure, then we will be called Grihimedhinam. Whereas if we are a Grihastha, if we are in the center of the attraction of our house is Krishna, and we are living in a Grihastha ashram, we should always welcome the sannyasis, senior devotees, and devotees of the caliber of Sukadeva Goswami. In the first canto later on, when Viduraji is visiting Yudhishthira Maharaj, So the battle is finished, the battle of Kurukshetra is finished, and Dhritarashtra and Gandhari are staying with Yudhishthir, and Vidurji, after his long pilgrimage, he comes, and Yudhishthir Maharaj, so Vidurji, he had advised Dhritarashtra many times before that please give up this attachment to your kingdom, attachment to your children, attachment to your sons, and please take to spiritual life. But Dhritarashtra won't listen to him. And Vidurji, like here Śukadeva Gosvāmī, out of his immense compassion, he said, let me try once again. And then he goes and visits Yudhishthira Maharaj, where he knows that he will meet Dhritarashtra and Gandhari. And Yudhishthira Maharaj, when he sees Vidurji, he welcomes him with such a nice verse. He says, Bhavad Vidha Bhagavatas Tirtha Bhuta Swayam Vibho Tirthi Kurvanti Tirthani Swantah Sthena Gada Bhrita. So Yudhishthira Maharaj is actually praising Vidurji. He says, my Lord, devotees like your good self are verily holy places personified. Tirthi Kurvanti Tirthani. Says, anywhere you go, you make that as a holy place, because you yourself are a tirtha, a moving tirtha. Why? Because Swantah Sthena Gadabhrita says, in your antaha, in your inner chambers of your heart, who is Sthena, who is situated? Gadabhrita, the personality of Godhead, one who carries the Gada. So, one of our very good acharyas, Dr. Fakir Mohan, he describes that the hidden meaning of Gadabhrata here, that it is not that Krishna is carrying only Gada, but is actually carrying a sweet weapon called a flute. So he says the hidden meaning of the acharyas which given for Gadabhrata is sweet, is a flute. So here how Yudhishthira Maharaj is glorifying Vidurji, that anyone who carries Krishna within their heart is a tirtha, walking tirtha himself, walking pilgrimage himself. And when he comes to the house of a householder, then he makes that house a tirtha. So tirtha is not a place where we visit, as we know. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, and Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur also said, that tirtha is our consciousness. That, yes, we go to Vrindavan, Mayapur, Jagannath Puri, these places, but if we make our homes with our consciousness, Jagannath Puri, Mayapur, and Vrindavan, we invite these tirthas to our home by our consciousness. So this is the way of interaction between a householder, a grihastha, or maybe even a grihimedi, and the sannyasi. And Prabhupada ends the purport with saying that one who is in the renounced order of life should not be allured by the glamour of the householder's worldly possessions and thus become subservient to worldly men. Tamal Krishna Maharaj himself was reminiscing on his sannyas ceremony, where when Prabhupada gave him sannyas, he told Tamal Krishna Maharaj that now you have taken to the renounced order of life, never even look back and think at your previous life and think that what you have missed out on or what you're missing out on. Never do that. He says, just go ahead and your life will be successful by giving this transcendental knowledge to others. So when one takes sannyas, they never look back into the householder life. Why? Because Prabhupada says at the end, for one who is in the renounced order of life, thinking and getting allured by the glamour of householders' possessions is more dangerous than drinking poison and committing suicide. There's a word in the scriptures used called vantasi. Vantasi means one who eats or drinks their own vomit. And if a renounced renunciate takes to the spiritual, to the householder life again, he is called a vantasi. So here Śukadeva Gosvāmī is described very wonderfully that he is going to a householder's place just for a very short time to sanctify that residence. And then we'll hear how come then he stayed at one place for 7 days and 7 nights. So we move on to next verse, verse number 9. Abhimanyu sutam suta prahur bhagavatotamam tasya janma mahāscharyam karmani na grininihi naha. Abhimanyu sutam, the son of Abhimanyu, Suta, O Suta, Prahuhu, it is said to be Bhagavat Uttamam, the first class devotee of the Lord. Tasya, his Janma birth, Maha Ascharyam, very wonderful, Karmani, activities, Cha and Grinihi, please speak to Naha, us. Does someone want to read the translation and this is the short purport? So please unmute yourself.
Yes, Prabhuji. Can
Yes.
I read, please?
Yeah.
Is it said that Maharaja Parīkṣit is a great first class devotee of the Lord and that his birth and activities are all wonderful? Please tell us about him. Purport. The birth of Maharaja Parīkṣit is wonderful because in the womb of his mother he was protected by the personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna. His activities are also wonderful because he chastised Kali, who was attempting to kill a cow. To kill cows means to end human civilization. He wanted to protect the cow from being killed by the great representatives of sin. His death is also wonderful because he got previous notice of his death, which is wonderful for any mortal being, and thus he prepared himself for passing away by sitting down on the bank of the Ganges and hearing the transcendental activities of the Lord. During all the day he heard Bhagavatam. He did not take food or drink, nor did he sleep a moment. So everything about him is wonderful, and his activities are worth hearing attentively. Desire is expressed herein to hear about him in details. Hare
Thank you,
Krishna.
Mari. Hare Krishna. Thank you. So again, after describing little glory of Śukadeva Gosvāmī, we are hearing about Mahārāja Parīkṣit and how he is a great first-class devotee. The name of another name of Mahārāja Parīkṣit is called Vishnu Rat because he was protected by Lord Vishnu, Krishna himself, when he was in the womb of his mother Uttara. So the birth of Mahārāja Parīkṣit is of course wonderful, and his life also was wonderful. So many incidents, we'll see so many pastimes when we are seeing in the coming verses that Mahārāja Parīkṣit was an ideal emperor and he did not want in his when he was ruling, there was nothing inauspicious or bad happening in his kingdom. But he also understood that the time of Kali is arrived. So he sort of let some things go. In the story when Kali is trying to kill the cow, and Parikshit Maharaj is saving the cow. He's actually chastising Kali. He's not killing Kali, but he's chastising Kali because Kali has come to his shelter. And then when Kali says, okay, please give me a place, I've come to your shelter, I need a place to stay. He says, okay, go and stay at these 4 places where there's gambling happening, when there is intoxication happening, when there is illicit sex happening, and when there is meat eating happening. So these 4 places, he says, go and stay there. But Kali says that in your kingdom, nothing like this is happening. And then Parikshit Maharaj says that, okay, stay at a place where gold is hoarded. So now we know where gold is hoarded, Kali is staying. So again, when he got notice of his death, as Prabhupada says, that his death is also wonderful. So imagine someone whose birth is wonderful because he's protected by the Lord himself. His whole life is wonderful because he's spending his life in protecting the dharma. He is not spending even one moment. The moment he knew that he is cursed to die, he did not give counter curse. He accepted that curse, went to his kingdom, enthroned King Janmejaya, and then just left. So his life also is wonderful. And now we can see that his death also is wonderful. So we get immense inspiration from personalities like this. When we hear these pastimes, it is not that we hear and then just forget about it. Actually, this is a purport I would request you as a homework. If you read this purport, and find out how much more depth can we get into it. Because it's talking of the birth of Mahārāja Parīkṣit, and there's a whole chapter coming later on that how when Ashwathama released the Brahmastra, Uttara comes running to the Lord, and the Lord saves Parīkṣit Maharaj in the womb. Then his activities, Parikshit's activities are given. And again, there's a whole pastime where Parikshit Maharaj is on his Raj Brahmana. The kings used to go out and meet the people to see what difficulties they have or how can they be served better. And one of these Paribhramans, he meets this personality called Kali. Again, then when he finds out that he's being cursed and he's going to die in 7 days, he is making his death glorious. So Prabhupada ends his purport as saying, so everything about him is wonderful and his activities are worth hearing attentively. When we hear something attentively, especially in relation to Srīmad Bhāgavatam, in relation to the devotees and the activities of the Lord, which are mentioned in Srīmad Bhāgavatam, our life becomes glorious. Prabhupada says the desire is expressed herein to hear about him in detail. As in the 10th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, when Arjun wants to see, hear about Krishna's opulences, Krishna says that, yes, I've already told you in the first few verses, in the Chaturshloki, I've told you that, I'm the source of all material and spiritual worlds. Why do you want to hear? Then Arjun uses the word Vistarena. Vistarena means, please tell me in Vistar, in detail, the opulences where I can think of you. So here also Bhagavatam describes in detail the glories of devotees like Mahārāja Parīkṣit and Śukadeva Gosvāmī. Any questions or comments before we move on to the next verse?
I have a question.
Yes.
You mentioned earlier that we have to, when sadhus come, we have to donate to them profusely.
Yes.
So I was just wondering, in today's times, how important is it for us to know where the donations are going? Is it important to know anything about it, or we just donate and then that's it?
As we know, Chanakya Pandit said 3 things we should be satisfied with, 3 things we should not be satisfied with at all. So one of the 3 things we should not be satisfied with at all is dana. So Chanakya Pandit says 3 things we have to be satisfied with: swadhare bhojane dhane, and the 3 things which we should not be satisfied with is swadhyaya, tap, and dana. So charity must be given by grihasthas all the time. And if we follow Sanatana Goswami, 25% must be given to Krishna conscious activities. And I'm now wearing another hat of taking the position of one of the servants at the Hare Krishna temple in Burbank. We have got deductible gift recipient status, and if you want to give charity, I am there. You please contact me 0403 585 771. So you can get tax deduction, and then so you get the benefit of tax deduction, and you are also serving Krishna by giving this charity. Does that make sense?
Thank you. Yes.
We should actually give as much as we can. As we heard before, that if we give with 2 hands, Krishna will give with his 1,000 hands, and we won't be able to also hold that what Krishna gives. Krishna might not give us exactly the dollars which we want, but he will give us opulences in different ways. And as we know, a rich person is not someone who has got a lot of opulences. A rich person is someone who is content with what he has. And a poor person is someone who might have all the opulences, but is not satisfied with what Krishna has given him. So if we are satisfied with what our position is, swadhare bhojane dhane, then we are rich, and we will always be rich, even if we give so much charity to Krishna conscious activities. Yes. The story of, once Prabhupada was sitting for darshan, and disciples were around him. And people were coming. This was in Vrindavan, I think. People were coming and just offering him some donation. So one man came and he gave, like 10 rupees. And Prabhupada started speaking to him, very nicely, very affectionately. And, after some time, then that man left. Then after some time, another man came and he gave, I think, 100 rupees or something more. And Prabhupada ignored him. He didn't even, spend any time with him. And afterwards, the disciples asked him, Prabhupada, that man gave 10 rupees and you spent so much time with him. And the other man gave 100 rupees and, you didn't spend so much time with him. So Prabhupada said that the man who gave 10 rupees, he could not even have given 10 rupees, but out of his duty and out of his affection for the sannyasi, he somehow managed this 10 rupees and gave it to us. Whereas the man who gave 100 rupees, he could have given 100 times more than that. So he says, Krishna doesn't see what you give, Krishna sees what you hold back. So we have to understand this principle. Krishna doesn't see what we give, Krishna sees what we hold back. So if we give more and more and more, Krishna becomes pleased with us. Yes?
Yes, thank you.
Please note that I have not paid Sneha Bhakti for this question. It was just an impromptu question.
I agree.
So coming to the next verse, 1:4:10. Does someone want to recite this verse, please? Okay, I'll recite. Sasamrat kasya vaheto panduna manavardhanaha prayopavishto gangayam anadrityadhirat shriyam. Saha, he, Samrat, the emperor, Kashya, for what? Va or Hetoho, reason, Pandunam, of the sons of Pandu, Manavardhanaha, one who enriches the family, Praya Upavishtaha, sitting and fasting, Gangayam, on the bank of Ganges, Anadritya, neglecting, Adhirat, acquired kingdom, Shriyam, opulences. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Can I read?
He was a great emperor and possessed all the opulences of his acquired kingdom. He was so exalted that he was increasing the prestige of the Pandu dynasty. Why did he give up everything to sit down on the bank of the Ganges and fast until death? Purport. Mahārāja Parīkṣit was the emperor of the world and all the seas and oceans, and he did not have to take the trouble to acquire such a kingdom by his own effort. He inherited from it or from his grandfathers Mahārāja Yudhishthir and brothers. Besides that, he was doing well in the administration and was worthy of the good names of his forefathers. Consequently, there was nothing undesirable in his opulence and administration. Then why should he give up all these favorable circumstances and sit down on the bank of the Ganges, fasting until death? This is astonishing, and therefore all were eager to know the cause. So in the previous verse, Parikshit Maharaj was called as Abhimanyu Suta. So here we see that Prabhupada mentions that he was emperor of the world and all the seas and oceans, not like now, where the individual governments hold possessions of only their own little kingdom. But whereas Mahārāja Parīkṣit was the emperor of Bharat. Bharat was extended throughout the entire world, including the seas and the oceans. And he did not even have to acquire, take the trouble. But what Prabhupada also mentions here is that because he was doing well in the administration, what was happening is there was nothing undesirable in his opulence and administration. When Duryodhana was ruling the kingdom, when Pandavas were in exile, people were happy materially, but they were not happy spiritually. So here Prabhupada says that in Parikshit Maharaj's rule, the people were happy both spiritually and materially. And Prabhupada says there was nothing undesirable in his opulence and administration. And then one might ask question, then why does he have to give up everything and sit down on the bank of the Ganga and fast until death. This is astonishing, this is wonderful, and therefore all were eager to know the cause, which we will know in the coming few days. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Granth Srimad Bhāgavatam ki jai, Jagadguru Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Ki jai.
Any questions or comments or reflections anyone has? Please unmute yourself.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. Sorry,
Yes.
quick one. This is also not a paid advertisement, but just in reply to Sneha Mataji's reply, we will be publishing the accounts in a short while, like in a few days, maybe even today. Yeah, to reflect what we have been spending.
Thank you, Prabhu. So yes, we want to be transparent and just make everyone know where your Lakshmi is going. Thank you, Prabhuji. Any other questions or comments?
Yeah, Hare Krishna Prabhu. On this donation thing, is it not wise to donate to the people who are poor and who are in need than donating to the Krishna conscious and other things as such? I'm not saying that Krishna conscious per se, but donation to the temples and other things.
So I will give you a brief answer, then probably expand it on it tomorrow. Krishna describes the three modes of charity in Bhagavad Gita at the end of Bhagavad Gita. And he says, what is the charity in mode of goodness, what is the charity in mode of passion, and what is charity in mode of ignorance. So, if we combine and then we understand that giving to Krishna, giving in Krishna consciousness is actually, it can lead for our own benefit. Whereas even if you give in the mode of goodness, charity, then you have to come back in the cycle of birth and death. But whereas we offer anything to Krishna, anyway, anything belongs to Krishna, everything belongs to Krishna. So, we generally do not use the word donate, we use the word offer. So if you offer something to Krishna, then it propels us higher into our bhakti, and there's a better chance of coming out of the cycle of birth and death. But we'll continue tomorrow and give the answer in a better detail, right? Is that okay, Prabhu?
There's a tax deduction if you give to temple.
Sorry?
There's a tax deduction if you give to temple.
Yes, also additional benefit.
To anybody XYZ, there's no tax deduction.
Yes, thank you, Prabhu. Okay, Granth Srimad Bhāgavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Have a wonderful Krishna conscious day, and we'll see you tomorrow, Krishna willing, at 6:30.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. Thank you.
Hare Krishna. Thank you.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. Thank you, Prabhu.